Hello and welcome to Hardcast. We're a comic book podcast you. I'm Humphrey Erm.
And I can't believe you just said that. And I'm Michael.
Lifeline, give me divinity-free Stalinverse, Part 2. Issue 3. Colin's neighbor was a spy who has now ratted him and Harada out, who are at the moment in his apartment just waiting for Divinity to wake up from his illusion. While in there, they go into great detail how this all happened and worked. And as far as I could understand, it has something to do with mass hypnosis along with a pinch of reality warping powers. Still not sure, but whatever, cosmic powers. They're rudely interrupted by the Red Brigade, with Harada holding them off so Ninja can escape to the mental ward, where Divinity is held. After unscrupulous killings, he reaches him, just as he goes back to normal, and manages to beat the whole Red Brigade easily, except for Casimir, who now pops out of Mishka's body and beheads Divinity. The end.
Ouch.
Yeah, again, it's one of those things where you're like, oh no, I can't believe this is how it ends.
In comics, that never happens.
Exactly. It's not like there's a whole issue left in this book.
Yeah, what could possibly happen next?
So, but it's what happens. I feel Valiant in comparison to DC and Marvel have quite a lot of characters who can survive like a lot of the strong attacks, so to speak.
Oh yeah,
like a lot of immortal characters, as we kind of see with the Red Brigade. That seems to be all their powers.
Yeah, pretty much.
In some form or other, some have a better time, like Red Legend. She gets to be a pretty woman and be powerful. So, and then I forgot her name, but Immortal Soldier, whatever her name.
Immortal Soldier, that's a new one.
Forget her name. All right, then I'm looking at the wrong PDF here because I'm looking at the.
You mean that the cheap Chinese knockoff of Eternal Warrior?
No, I'm more the Skeleton Woman.
Oh, you mean Kosti the Deathless?
Kosti, that's one. She kind of has a raw deal in that sense.
A little bit. Actually, and we're going to see the origin of Pioneer soon, and you might think, well, hey, wait a minute. That seems a little bit too easy. Yeah. So. I love this issue. I love the comic book stuff where they're reading comic books. Did we get that yet? No, wait, sorry, that's the ending.
Yeah, that's next issue. Well, there's one panel about it.
There's one panel.
Yeah, we're kind of showing these, and this is something where it kind of shows kind of my lack of knowledge in some sense. But now I know there was culture in Soviet Russia. I know it's not like it was nothing. As an animator, I'm well aware of all the beautiful animation they made. Oh yeah, yeah. So, but I don't know. I have never heard of a Soviet comic book, even as a propaganda piece. I can't see it in front of me.
Me neither. I have no idea. I have to ask about this stuff. But yeah, my wife's family, But I love this. They had the Red Slave cover there. There was a number one issue by the look of it. I think that's awesome. I think they should also make that comic book. Actually, you see some pages of it in the next issue, I guess. So fine.
They'll have to do. But I think the alien on the cover there is actually a reference to original Valiant.
Is it? I'm not sure. I'm not totally sure.
No, but it wasn't the Vine design a bit like that, where they had these tentacles and stuff?
It's a spider alien. Look at that.
That's what I mean.
Eyes, yeah. You could be right.
It's subtle, it's not like hey, stare at this, but a cool kind of thing to do.
With the multiple eyes, I believe, I'm convinced. It looks way cooler than the old ones.
Yeah, but I gotta say, because I did read the first, that master volume of Exo-Manowar of the original series. And I liked it a lot, but yeah, something with the design,
okay.
Sure, they looked scary and menacing, but I don't know, a bit too rough.
Yeah. The spider aliens. The best callback thing in here to me is you really get a feeling of the fact that the new Dr. Solar and Solar is divinity. So they're really calling back to the original Solar and Dr. Solar, which is two different people, if you believe it, because Solar gets his superpowers by reading comic books and also being a nuclear type superhero. You know, he blows up the universe and he comes back as his favorite comic book hero. And this is pretty much what happens with these guys, except that it actually makes a kind of a bit of sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know that I have read that story. I found it online somewhere.
Oh, wow.
And it was really fun because it's such an overly complicated way of explaining why there are superpowers.
Oh, it's so, yeah. It's
like,
awesome.
it's not, yeah, I mean, it's not just like, oh, well, you know, there was some explosion at a nuclear facility that sent out this radiation that gave some people powers, you know, no.
That would be too
a
easy.
guy recreated the universe to the best of his knowledge, but because he read these old Gold Key comic books,
right,
that put those things into their universe as well, and because of that, it's like, oh my god, it's so glorious. I love it.
It's so absurdly and perfectly meta.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not just resurrecting a bunch of old random comic book heroes. No, there's a grand plan.
Exactly. No, that's great.
Yeah, it's perfect. And this one hits all the beats as well. I mean, it has all of these awesome moments in space and back on the farm. I don't know.
Well, that's next issue.
Oh, really? I'm really sorry.
No worries. No, I mean, it ties it well. It cuts well into it in that sense. Like with the first episode we did, it's kind of like, well, we know more is going to happen. So I think we didn't quite see it as like, you know, one after the other. But here it blends a lot more.
What should we say about this issue? There's a good fight.
Yeah, no, I mean, the fight's fine. I mean, it's, again, big splash page of all the characters jumping in. Again, Divinity getting to show himself, you know, show off before, you know, what's called letting Casimir show off.
Right.
But again, it's one of those things that I kind of like, because with the whole Divinity thing, especially since Divinity, even if he is, as you were saying, Dr. Solar, like XP.
Oh, yeah.
It's still kind of, I love the fact that this whole adventure was set from the beginning, because we knew they were free cosmonauts who were sent out there. So we knew about this third one even during Divinity 2.
Right.
So I guess like this kind of slow burn, like I was sort of been like a year in between each story, and it's like, it's always been there. I don't know, I like that. It makes it all feel planned out and like concise.
Yeah, this guy's out there somewhere. What's he up to? Oh, wait, he's pulling all the strings.
Exactly. Because, you know, they could have done something where, oh, did I forget to mention that there was a third guy with us? It's like, what? So you never said that before. And again, you know, fine, whatever, you know, you could do that, but it just feels kind of cheap.
Yeah, nothing about this one that was cheap. Actually, you could go into a lot of detail about the art here and the panels. I was looking back at Colin and Harada's conversation where it cuts between them. Even this is really cool, you know? Really cinematic. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, I mean, that's always the harder thing to do, the quote unquote normal scenes.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is a calm scene too. So it's not like you want to have two, you know, dramatic angles or anything. But, you know, some good close-ups there to show like the intensity of their conversation, but otherwise very flat because it's all very, you know, like if you look at the next page after that, you know, we just have these horizontal landscape panels, you know, giving you that sense of, oh, yeah, it's all very calm, it's very stable. But of course, we're moving in to see them, the Red Brigade showing up. And then in that sense, if we're thinking panel dimensions, we cut from a page of all these horizontal panels to go to a full page of just one big vertical panel for this dynamic entry.
Right. And that happens a lot in this issue and the next one too. That's beautiful.
Yeah, no, again, it's just super solid. I mean, I made a joke in the summary about the whole explanation of how it worked. And I actually looked up what they were discussing, the nuns of Lodon or Ludon.
No way, you too?
Well, I looked it up just to kind of, okay, what is this? Is this something that exists? Okay, it does.
Yeah,
And
kind of.
yeah, I mean, I see like what he was going for, so it's not like it was a bad metaphor, but I guess I had trouble seeing it done like for the whole world, like even with the power. I don't know. It's one of those times where I feel it would have been simpler if it was just, oh no, that's divinity's powers can do this.
But I love that. I mean, most comics would have gone for that too. Oh yeah, they just changed history and that's how it is, and now we got to change it back. Okay, let's change it back. No, it's a mass hypnosis, and maybe a little bit real, but maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, again, but I don't know. It's just one of those things where it reminds me of the scene from Futurama, out of all things. So when they're underwater to like when they meet the city of Atlanta.
That stuff happens in, what's it called?
Futurama?
Futurama, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, tired.
Yeah, no, it's just, but it's just this one scene then where it turns out while they're underwater, Dr. Zoidberg's new house burned down, even though they're underwater.
Of course.
And they kind of mentioned that, and they're going like, how could that happen? So yes, that's a very good question. And then they found out the reason. Bender left his cigar in the house, and he takes out the cigar and keeps smoking it underwater. And what's called Hermes says, this just raises more questions. And I feel that's kind of the thing here with the explanation here. It's like, instead of just going for this sort of simple cop-out answer, it's just bringing up more questions in terms of, okay, I understand that, but then, like, what constitutes this and that and that?
Wait a minute. Oh, I definitely want to get to the next issue then, because it only gets worse.
But honestly, as you were kind of saying, like, I mean, we're pretty much done here. I mean, it is just this sort of, just like with previous episodes of Hardcast, this is sort of like the designated they fight issue. Even though there were conversations and such, it's still kind of,
Absolutely. This was the required build-up to the exciting climax. All the plot lines are revealed. What's going to happen?
Exactly. And again, a nice ending too, because it's just so grim.
Oh yeah, the big bad is back. He has a skull, so he's bad, and he is a valiant character, so he has long fingers and tentacles because he's an alien. Perfect.
Yep. So it does remind me of something, though. The idea of like what's called the spacesuit skeleton thing. I've seen that quite a few times now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, they had it in Doctor Who. So there was an episode where that happened, where there were these astronauts, and one of the astronauts was infected by this like parasite creature thing that ate up his whole entire like body from the inside. So then you just see like this skull inside of his helmet now. It's like just repeating his last thoughts.
Wow.
Really creepy. And then there was an old Scooby-Doo episode, I remember. So that also had the same like kind of design, which was an astronaut suit with a skull like inside of the helmet.
Okay, this is going some weird places.
That just made me think, like, I wonder, like, why that's a relatively common, visual, because these are very different, things,
Oh, yeah.
So, like, and also years apart.
I mean, he reminds me a bit of, like, some kind of super Skeletor as well. I'm pretty sure He-Man went down that road at some point and made, like, 90s versions of all of the characters. So they had super big muscles and like an awesome suit.
Oh man, honestly, that would be a perfect fit for Rob Liefeld to do a He-Man series.
I don't know who that is, but okay.
Oh, it's he's kind of famous for having like a very off anatomy. So, but he's technically the creator of Deadpool.
Oh.
So, but he's kind of famous for being not the best artist, but he was really popular in the 90s because he had a certain style that people really liked.
Works.
But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's all exciting, and let's move on to what's called the next origin story.
Okay, now it gets confusing. Actually, it's totally irrelevant to the story, but it's fun. Shadow Man and the Battle of New Stalingrad. Soviet-occupied New York has been renamed New Stalingrad. Russian tanks are dragging a colossal statue out to Liberty Island. And we see Jack Boniface agonizing over whether to go fight them. What will he do? The commies blow up the Statue of Liberty. All the spectators, including Jack, go ape and start a riot. As we see Jack still resisting his urge to release the Shadow Lower. Over a quick flashback to his origin story in this timeline, really quick. So his mom gave him the Lower after he escaped a nuclear blast that all but wiped out New Orleans. The end. The rebellion is about to get crushed. Jack cracks and unleashes a zombie army backed up by dead side spirits, and the tide turns. But then Arik, son of the revolution, turns up. Shadow Man kicks Arik's butt until Commandar Bloodshot comes out of nowhere. Arik and Bloodshot capture Shadow Man and offer not to kill all his friends in return for his allegiance. Zoom out to the familiar New York skyline, now topped with a gigantic statue of Joseph Stalin. Do you want to say something about this before we go on to Baba Yaga?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, it's just like all the other tie-in books. It's just kind of to explain what the new status quo is in this universe. So obviously, as you said, like you said, it had a different setup now with how Jack kind of became Shadow Man.
Yeah, the one pager of his origin story didn't really impress me, I have to say.
Oh, it's nothing special, but it's one of those things where, again, it's for a tie-in for an alternate universe. It just had to kind of like get things up to speed in that sense. Poor
Shadow Man. His book got taken over by Arik, basically. He has a cool 2-page spread of the zombie army and all these weirdos. That was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
Including a guy with a chainsaw and mysteriously an Arab sheikh carrying a spade. Something that you see in New York all the time, I'm sure.
Well, maybe he was, before all this happened, maybe he was about to go do some gardening or something.
Right.
So but yeah, it's just, it's just one of these things. And it's also, as is kind of like the theme with the other tie-in books as well, which is also the fun part when you have a thing like this, where you have an alternate universe where everything's gone to hell.
Right.
But you can have these sad, bad endings, so to speak, because we know it's going to fix itself. So you can kind of like at least temporarily have these moments of, nope, even though he's the good guy and he's protecting these innocents and fighting back against an oppressive regime, nope, he loses, and now he's basically just works for Arik as his like special weapon.
Oh yeah. It totally gives the message. Well, the whole world has gone to shit. Yeah, and it works totally.
And it's also the typical thing that you always have to do whenever you have a story about what's called the United States being taken over by a foreign power. You have to replace the Statue of Liberty.
That's the first thing on your list, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, no, when we as the new oppressive regime, you're going through a list, and first of all, we got to destroy the Statue of Liberty and replace it with something else.
The panel of 1,000 missiles all aiming at it was pretty clear message there.
Kind of overkill.
There's no kill like overkill.
Honestly, when I'm looking at it now, it looks almost... It's not that it's badly drawn, but those missiles are so simplified that it almost looks like it was someone else, like someone just drew, these 4 panels and then decided to mess it up.
Yes.
It's like, oh, and then a bunch of missiles come over. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go full on high school kids drawing style. Yeah, it works.
Yes, exactly.
Let's draw in the style that we're thinking. That's exactly how it works. And the 2 huge spreads of the battle itself are just the best, actually. Having said that, I'm bored of this tie-in. Actually, the battle scenes are the best. Like all these little details of this terrible stuff that happens to the resistance fighters, I guess that's what you got to call them. And then the same thing happens again to the Soviets, just in reverse. So. Oh yeah, no, I mean, it uses the exact same panel layouts. Exact same panels, exact same thing is happening to the other person in reverse. So the chainsaw guy picks up his chainsaw again, and he's like, chainsaw zombie guy. And the Arab guy, you actually see him getting killed, and he drops his spade. It's bizarre, but that's what happens.
Well, then probably he was just trying to fight back before, and then he happened to have a shovel, which would make a good weapon.
I think it's some other guy with the shovel. Okay, that really confused me.
No, I don't think so, because you can see that the Soviet soldier has one of those batons.
And who the heck is this guy in the big spread? It's like wearing a space helmet. Did you see that? And it looks kind of like Shadow Man. It's got the black and white thing going on there.
Oh yeah,
that is weird.
Yeah, I mean, again, they have some interesting designs, but I guess the rest of them kind of just fit the undead demon thing. But that does look like a bit more of an alien design.
There's an alien guy. I mean, what was it, Mardi Gras or what? And there's a cigar smoking skeleton later on.
That's always fun.
This is classic Valiant stuff. Yeah, there's always some bizarre character in the background. The origin of Baba Yaga. Grigory Rasputin goes bonkers, ditches his wife and kid, and walks to Jerusalem or something. After learning dark magic, he creates an evil critter in a cauldron that keeps prophesying his death. He tosses the cauldron and the kid in the Euphrates and moves on with his life. The kid escapes, walks around the world, schlepping the cauldron, grows up to be a witch with a seriously Skeletocentric fashion sense, and goes on to spoil the divinity plotline to the Russians, who think it's crazy and lock her up. Years later, Mishka lets her out to join the Red Brigade. This is going to happen. That happened one time before, didn't it? Oh, we're really sorry. Going to let you out now. Also, she has more animal friends than a Disney princess. It was the Red Legend, right? She's in the gulag the whole time. Along comes Mishka. Hey, big mistake. Sorry about that. Won't you come and fight for me now?
Oh, yeah, no, but that's the whole thing. And that's kind of like the whole concept as well with like the Soviet Union in that sense. It's all about what can you do for the state?
Uh-huh. Somewhat.
So honestly, I really like this because I know of Baba Yaga. Like I've seen depictions of her before. I don't know like if this is the typical story, but it's a really cool, messed up visual. This child crawling out of a cauldron.
Yeah.
And then always having the cauldron. I don't know. It's an interesting motif.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bonkers. It's crazy.
But it's also one of those problems when you have a character who supposedly knows the future, because it kind of makes you kind of wonder like how exactly it works, because how can she be surprised? I was thinking of the previous issue when she was fighting Ninjak.
Oh.
And Ninjak sprays her with like this acid.
Oh, okay. That's how it works, isn't it? I mean, you never foresee the really useful stuff. Pretty much just the big picture. Oh no, the whole empire will crumble. How could that ever happen? A ninja with some acid spray. Why didn't I think of that? That's how it works. But she's kind of a downer, basically. Nobody wants her around because and what can you do? She says everything's going to fall to pieces, and it does. Well, great. Yeah. But she's awesome. As a character, she looks just the best. Her bony her bones and stuff that she has stuck on her face.
Yeah, no, it's a great design. Like, kind of, it almost looks like it's some kind of like headphones.
Right.
And then like almost like little antennas or something sticking out of her head.
Yeah, right. She turns into like the alien lady. Yeah, that's awesome.
And again, Reap is just so perfect with drawing like these old wrinkles and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
So again, perfect choice.
It's Reap. I love that in this tie-in, she kind of talks normally, a little bit boring dialogue. Maybe I have other gifts that will be essential to your success. But in the main timeline, she's just like a full-on 1930s gangster or something. You bad mojo. Yeah.
Well, maybe they were written like obviously they were written separately, but maybe certain characterizations weren't like updated or something.
I mean, that's her trash talk, right? So maybe she's been around. She's walked around the world. She knows what she's talking about. But when she gets into a battle, hey, she just lets it rip. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Oh, now I got it. Reap.
Oh dear. Yeah, the dark stuff and the weird Russian folklore is laid on thick, and yeah, it's perfect. The creepy magic stuff definitely works here.
Again, it's just cool. And again, that's the whole thing I feel when you have a shared universe or, well, a shared superhero universe. You need to have a bit of like some different kind of origins for people. Like, it's nice to have some sort of like universal source of powers, sure. You know, like with the mutants and X-Men, for example.
Right.
You know, it's kind of nice to just have, they were born with it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's nice, easy, just come up with a power. But it's still cool having things like this where it's like, okay, so this is, I'm guessing it's not the real Baba Yaga, because I think the original, like the folklore one is older than what they were stating there.
Oh, yeah.
So she's kind of taken on that persona, which is kind of cool. It's kind of like when you take, yeah.
It's kind of like Thor in Marvel Comics. He's not Thor. He's totally different, but he's a version of Thor.
True. Well, at least their version. I mean, it always gets complicated with that because
right.
It's always hard to be kind of like, oh, the real fictional thing.
Yeah, there's not really. Okay, I get what you're saying, but I mean, they didn't slavishly stick to some ancient saga. They just they took the basic idea and outline, and they made something new. And I think it's the same here. It's just more awesome because Russian folk stories are awesome.
Oh no, certainly. And again, it's one of those things too where, like, I don't know if anything has happened with these characters. I know now from the ending of having finished both of them now. I know like what's happening, but like Baba Yaga is a character who I feel then could work well meeting with Punk Mambo, for example. They're both kind of like these sort of spiritual, these kind of like soothsayers, that kind of stuff.
Well, Rasputin's head will pop up later on.
Yeah, but like something like that. It's just one of those things that I like when the world expands, because suddenly now we have more people we can go to for expert advice, for example.
I mentioned Rasputin's head is going to pop up on its own later on. No?
Yes, you did.
Okay, fine. Oh yeah, was there another one? No, that was the other one.
Yeah, no, that was it. So let's move on to the grand finale.
Yes.
Issue 4. In case you forgot that this was a superhero book, Divinity's head is on the bottom of the river and regenerates his whole body, including cosmonaut suit, looking no worse for wear. He travels around and cures the brainwashing of Bloodshot, Auric, and Peter Stanchik, and with them and Ninjak, he attacks the Red Brigade once more. While we don't get to see the probably awesome fight, we do get the long monologues of both Casimir and Divinity as they fight in space and different dimensions, ending with Divinity convincing Casimir to explore the universe. Almost everything is back to normal now, with the Red Brigade surviving the transition, and apparently anyone who died during Stalinverse remained dead. So goodbye, Agent Festival. Now, I was very shocked about that, about them mentioning specifically that anyone who died remained dead.
Oh, yeah.
No, but like that's usually the cop-out with these things. If we can just, if we can just turn it back to normal, everyone will be back. And it's like, nope.
Yeah. Okay, now we can finally mention that this just makes no sense. I mean, these, like the Red Brigade guys came out of nowhere, apparently. And why? Because people thought they did. And there you go. They're real. Yeah. And all those guys died. I'm not totally sure. I didn't see one or two of these people pop up again later on. But yeah, details.
Well, again, it's mostly innocent people. I mean, we didn't see like the death of Auric, the death of Harada, or anything like that. The only one I could remember specifically of named characters was in the Bloodshot tie-in.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And again, it's not that because Kosol already died in Bloodshot Reborn, or in Bloodshot USA.
Oh, okay.
So it's one of those things too. So was he brought back to life for Stalinverse, or was it taking place at the same time?
It's the alternative version of the same thing, of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do remember that in the end of Bloodshot USA, we did have this nice moment between Deathmate, Kay as the Geomancer with her new powers,
Okay.
flying with Agent Festival. He has like a nice little moment between these two women. But then, if this is true, then she must be dead now in the respective book.
Yeah. There's a few things like that. There's quite a lot of things like that, but it's fine. I mean, who cares, right? It was cool.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to go too into it either, but it is kind of similar to, you've read those, the Crisis on Infinite Earths and stuff.
No.
Oh, okay. So I have like one of the collected editions of it.
Whoa, okay.
And no, but it's like, what is it, 12 issues of all this cosmic changes and stuff like that.
Oh, geez.
But the fun thing at the last issue, like after everything's been fixed and all the alternate universes are destroyed and there's only one now.
Right. Of course.
Yeah, that was the whole reason for it, because it got too complicated, so they wanted to reboot it. But without, changing everything, they wanted to make a big story out of it. But the thing is, after it happens, it's not like it's all starting from birth for all the characters. Like you kind of have this, it's kind of like this transition where suddenly, like they have somehow lived their entire lives in a certain way up to this point where they suddenly remember what happened. And then it's like the people who do remember sort of get together and talk about it. And it's like, and discuss the differences. Like, yeah, no, it turns out, this guy who was dead before is alive now. Or
right.
It turns out my powers now come from this instead of this other thing.
Cool.
Oh, yeah, it's very weird. And then DC was publishing these like one-shot the comics like after that happened, called The Secret Origins.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, which would then explain the new continuity. Like, okay, so this is the situation now. Okay,
so very much like Glorious Heroes of the Stalinverse.
In a way, but they're. It gets complicated because this never happened. Then, like Red Legend, for example, is a bit more complex because she grew up in a gulag and all that, so that's kind of part of her origin. So, how is her childhood now in this new universe?
Oh yeah, that all totally happened. That was post World War I, so that was there. That happened.
Was it? Because it's I don't know. It's getting hard to, because then it's also about the characters, how they age and stuff like that.
It all happened, and it was all because of sci-fi. It was all because of those awesome characters that we just get a glimpse of. I think that one is Starship Troopers. Actually, I recognize these bugs.
Oh yeah.
They're meant to be fighting, and
at least from the movie version.
Yeah, that is awesome. And there's some kind of giant, no idea what that is. Who cares? It's awesome. And Planet of the Apes set in the Star Trek universe.
So I'd be surprised if there wasn't an episode about that. Of Star Trek.
Oh yeah, I bet that happened. Yeah, especially the original Star Trek. Yeah. Anything where you can put somebody in a really awful humanoid alien costume and a big jersey and a jumper.
Exactly.
That's going to be attempted at least once.
So I also did notice that there was a Dune reference as well with the sandworm.
Oh, that's a sandworm. Nice.
I'm assuming so. Like, especially the guy riding it too. His suit seems to be the way they were dressed for Dune.
How did they get away with this stuff, Humphrey?
No, again, especially in these cases, it's just, homages in that sense. Like I remember,
okay,
I think it was one of the second Faith volume. So when me and Chris were reviewing it.
Oh yeah.
And I remember because it was that whole scene in the comic book convention.
Right.
And we noticed how a lot of these characters who were obviously dressed up as like Marvel and DC characters and such, but they were then colored totally different, because I think they were probably either they were told or were worried about, I know it's obviously a Wolverine this guy's dressed as, but color him blue, so we can say that it's not supposed to be him.
Absolutely, and his name is now Hogan.
No, but I think that's the thing, though. It's just like, this is, it's just those who those who do recognize them think it's fun, but otherwise it's just, to show all these fantastical things that he's talking about.
Oh yeah, here's some sweet, weird sci-fi stuff.
The reason for living.
I mean, I always say that sci-fi is pretty unscientific and not always fictional. I mean, it pretty much mirrors what happens in the real world. So I can only say I love the fact that they threw it in there as being this major influence on the whole of world history.
Oh, certainly. No, I like that too. So it's again, it's some fun pages and yes, the idea of how they're doing it in that sense.
Yeah.
But it also kind of illustrates, and this is something I've seen discussions on online a lot. So about the difference between, for example, fight scenes in like manga and like fight scenes in American comics.
Oh no.
Oh, but like here, it's just a bunch of separate panels of just, like action poses.
Oh yeah, it's totally illogical, right?
Not so much about illogical, it's just the fight itself is not the thing we're looking at, Like what's important is what they're talking about. Like it's really just an argument where they happen to be punching as well.
It's a Russian novel.
But then in comparison to like a manga, like just taking like a classic that I think most people know, like Dragon Ball, the fight itself is the thing we're looking at. We have pages of them like thinking about their next move, like, I'll try to use this attack instead and do this. But here, there's none of that. It's just we're fighting. But that's just a means to an end. Like we could have just been talking, so we're kind of doing both.
It's an awesome backdrop for a weird philosophical conversation.
Exactly. So, and that's the thing. That's not like it's not trying to be like this action-packed thing. It's just having it there. It's like the fight is almost metaphorical to show the struggle in their conversation. I mean, once he's basically convincing him, we stop the fight, then it's down to this intellectual chess game.
Maybe that's what's really happening.
So speaking of which, too, with the chess game, it's, again, not the most complicated thing, but nice transition there with the panels where they switch like the back of the person.
Oh, yeah.
We have Casimir in the left panel, and then they switch, but they are still kind of like symmetrical. I don't know, it's just neat. I like when people do things like that.
It's camera work. It's awesome camera work, yeah.
Yeah, but especially here because we get the whole sense of like how he's like drawn the same way. Like if we were to remove the panel, they would like fill out completely. Or not to remove the panel, remove the barrier, the border.
Gotcha.
Like I could from the left panel, I could draw a line from the what's called the sweater, and then it completes it perfectly to the next panel. I don't know, I just think that's kind of neat. But yeah, and then we have this bit of what's the word? Not quite as big as the previous Divinity 2 with its cliffhanger, where it was like very clear that, what's going to happen?
That was a good cliffhanger.
Yeah, like here it's a bit more vague. Like they seem to be living happily together now, and we zoom out, and then in the beginning, it says.
I thought you meant when Casimir disappears. Why hadn't it occurred to me, the entire universe? So it means he's going to try and take over the universe, or what?
Oh, no, I got that impression more that he's going to be looking, observing.
He's just going to hang out some.
Yeah, well, he was kind of like, that's what the whole discussion before was, why he was mentioning about the science fiction novels. Like you were reading all these fictional depictions of all this. Now, why did you go back to the Soviet Union to do this when you have this freedom and power to truly observe things outside of your realm of possibility?
Yeah, what the heck, hey?
So again, and then we do get then right afterwards, like after the end of the issue, we get this teaser page for Eternity, which I do remember seeing like it being published, though I have no idea what it is.
I have it on my shelf.
Nice.
Not gonna spoil it unless you want.
Well, you can just tell me like what is it? Like, do you not say how it ends or anything? But it is another Divinity book, or
it's basically the other Divinity book. Yeah, let's go back to the unknown and picking up daily life in the unknown. Oh my goodness!
All right. Well, I'll reach it at some point. So, like I said, I'm waiting for a good sale on Comixology so I can just pick up all the books I'm missing.
Yeah, right. I would wait for that one. That's a weirdo. That's weird. It's just weird. What can I say?
Well, I'll get it at some point, even if I have to wait an eternity.
So, issue number 4. Escape from Gulag 396. In Stalinverse, the Archers lead an underground church, persecuted by the Soviets. Obi Archer is the sole survivor of the final purge and is adopted by monks who rescue him to restore him to health, teach him Russian Orthodox Kung Fu. Just go with it. Arrested for smuggling religious literature, Archer is immured in the Gulag. I think that means like walled up, where he immediately starts a prisoner uprising and is hauled in front of the chief guard, who bets him he can't tame an unruly prisoner. Who could that be? With his superstitious god talk. Of course, Armstrong is the top troublemaker. Archer nice guys him into capitulation. The prison boss offers Archer his freedom, and instead, Archer asks for Armstrong to be released. It's all way more dramatic than it sounds. The final scene has Armstrong on his knees in the Archer's abandoned backstreet chapel. Okay, so this is my favorite tie-in, I have to say.
All right. So I'd love to hear it, or hear your reasoning.
How come, I hear you ask?
Yes.
This just has one of the best scenes. I think it's around about the first couple of pages. Archer's in the prison. What does he do? The first thing is he jumps on a table, smacks on a pan, and shouts, "Free your souls!" So, yeah, perfect. That's what you typically do when you're stuck in a gulag. Don't go down quietly.
Yeah, no, of course. It is one of those things where... But I've always been kind of like that with any kind of like prison or like prisoner of war setting.
Oh man, it's awesome.
Like but like especially when you see like how easily the guards kill other people, you get a bit kind of like, yeah, you'd think by how much they put themselves out there, as the protagonist, you'd think they'd try to kill them. Right.
Pretty much immediately.
But again, it's just it's a nice little issue because again, it goes into a little. I find it kind of interesting how it goes into this other like feel of like how religion otherwise is seen as a more of an establishment thing.
Totally.
But here, it's a rebellious thing, which again makes sense. As totally. Communist doctrine, doesn't allow for religion.
Pretty much, yeah. And I mean, Valiant generally, I think, does a super good job of not being like boringly anti-religious, but it's like, well, there's a lot of dodgy religion out there, and it sends it up all the time, which I think is great. Like they flipped over the storyline. Of course, the Archers are meant to be these totally fake, totally evil so-called Christians in the story, and of course here they are the real thing, the real deal of whatever kind. I don't know, really, some kind of weird, somewhat Orthodox, I guess. I mean, it's meant to be Russia actually, but okay, whatever, go with it. Those many evangelical Americans hanging out in Soviet Russia, but and then the fact that the Orthodox monks teach him Kung Fu, which I thought was just excellent.
Exactly. No, it's kind of funny because it's kind of irrelevant for the story.
No, that's the origin of Archer. I mean, that's what happens in going.
Yeah,
right back
that I understand, but it's kind of irrelevant for this particular issue because he never gets to use it.
He never fights anybody that we see. I mean, I guess he gets kind of hauled up pretty quickly in front of the boss there. So he has to be a badass to survive prison.
That's true. I mean, that I guess could be the more or less justification for it. But still, it just kind of made me. I thought it was kind of funny, though. It'd be kind of like if they did that in the actual comic or like the main series. We see him. But we see him like doing the training. Training with his other like brothers and sisters. Then he leaves off to find the Armstrong, and
you're right.
He never fights again.
Yeah. I mean, this is actually, sorry to turn on the nerd switch again. This is actually 90s Archer. He has no superpowers. He's just a super great Shaolin monk thing. And he's trained by monks, and he wants to go get revenge. But in this one, he's obviously like Francis of Assisi.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, I mean, here he's actually, taking in the religious teaching and actually, practicing it. And poor Armstrong is like, he's been brainwashed to think that, no, actually life does suck. Instead of constantly telling everybody,
just smoke them if you got them. He's like, no, dude, I'm Russian now.
So I didn't stop him drinking.
Yeah, gonna drink some of this toilet wine.
So it's like maybe it's a good year.
Yeah, I think it was the best year.
But it's one of those things that makes me wonder too, because we get to see that panel of young Armstrong with his two brothers. And this makes me wonder then, again, I know they can't go into every single detail in this Stalinverse, but you'd wonder like where the more what's called the Eternal Warrior would be, and like how the time travel shenanigans works with Ivar.
Yeah, the whole Valiant timeline has just gone actually, because Archer and Armstrong, nerd time again. It's basically the thread that ties everything else together. And if you don't have Ivar in there, more importantly, Gilad and the Geomancers, then actually you kind of lose the whole thread. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, like I said, I'm just curious because especially because of the immortality aspect, and since we were discussing that last episode too, we have to assume that everything has gone the same as before up to 1922.
Right.
So, which is also why I'm not too I don't find it too weird, for example, having Baba Yaga exist in post Stalinverse, because she obviously was created before, Divinity 3 happened.
Yeah, totally. She's kind of outside of this whole illusion.
Exactly. And same thing with what's called, I keep forgetting her name, but Knosti?
Right. Kosti the Deathless?
Kosti, yeah.
She's just again old and super angry, yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. So she maybe got dug up later or a different time, whatever.
Right. No, she got dug up right on time, actually. She got dug up right at the start of the timeline. That's Joseph Stalin standing there in the last frame.
So true, but that's what I mean. I think it's past I think that's past 1922. So, but she was buried before then.
Okay.
That's what I mean. So that she exists after Stalinverse makes sense to me in that sense. But whatever, it's it's just getting into all this complicated metaphysicalness.
It's super metaphysical, and the Archer and Armstrong part is like this awesome. It's a Russian novel. They have this long dialogue about life is bad. No, it's good. And yeah, I mean, it just works. And the red and the blue panels, so cinematic, so awesome.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of it's very obvious. It's not very subtle about it, but it works really well, as you said. It's just immediate contrast. Yes, the whole immediate, way of how they observe things.
If you notice in the last couple of panels of the red and blue part, you see Archer looking in through the slot, and the little slot inside is blue.
Mm.
And in the last panel, you see the red light is shining on Armstrong's eyes. He's suddenly got the idea. This kid is just never going to leave me alone.
Exactly. No, but that's the thing. It's those what's called it's just those visual motifs and stuff. It's, again, you don't think of it necessarily. I mean, we're analyzing, so we're paying attention more, but you feel it. You feel a casual reader still kind of gets the point out of it, even if they can't pinpoint it.
You get the vibe.
Exactly. Or or how Mr. Plinkett says it, you didn't notice it, but your brain did. Have you ever seen those, the Red Letter Media?
Oh, dude. I'm super single issue guy, I don't read comics. I just read Valiant.
Yeah, no, but it's this YouTube channel.
I'm like that with YouTube channels too. I watched one YouTube channel.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And everything else is meh.
All right. No, that's fine. I just wanted to explain my reference in case you didn't know it, which I guess was good.
Sorry.
No,
but
that's fine.
Our listeners can pick it up.
Exactly. But yeah, I don't know. I always find these kinds of things fun. There's something about these selfless acts.
Oh boy, yeah.
I mean, and that goes into the whole religious theme as well, at least the very, the Christian theme, because it's all about, martyrdom and what's called to sacrifice yourself for others.
Yeah, this is super rare. I mean, I just said I don't read any other comic books, but I can't believe that this happens in comic books a lot. I mean, something is really like genuine, yeah? It's really genuine because that's who the character is. You know, he's like, Mr. Armstrong is my family. It's really genuine. I mean, they didn't compromise the character or anything. Not too much, anyway.
Well, again, it's just it fits the whole like thing about everything's kind of mixed up in this universe.
Yeah.
So the idea of, because again, we know that Armstrong's an atheist in the main timeline.
And in this timeline, apparently, too.
Yeah, but that he finds religion from, his experience with Archer.
This is cool, yeah. This is crazy stuff.
And that's what I mean. Like, I like that it's not simple. I like it that it's not, I mean, they are working with opposites, but it's not simple opposites like always, if you were evil, now you're good. And if you were good, now you're evil. It's like even working with personality traits and like ideologies. It's just very interesting.
Thanks for reminding me. This is one of my favorite books.
So it's really fun, and it kind of like this whole event reminds me a lot of Flashpoint from DC. Did you ever read that?
Is that by Valiant?
All right, I get your point. No, but they kind of had a similar thing, not with like the Soviet thing, but just an alternate universe where everything was changed.
Okay, left was right, black was white.
Yeah, no, but like the big famous one that you might have seen online, maybe because it was very like exciting when it happened. In this universe, Bruce Wayne isn't Batman. Bruce Wayne died in that night in the alley, so his dad became Batman and his mother became the Joker.
Okay.
It's things like that. They were really like, okay, how can we make things messed up and crazy and different?
Okay, so like in pretty much every comic book, sorry to be a bit cynical, but...
Yeah, no, of course, but that's the whole thing. Because of Flashpoint, it's like, it's all going to fix itself later, and it did. But what makes it fun, though, is the fact that I'm like, oh, man, I kind of want to read more about this universe, though, because it's so crazy looking.
Okay, so I'm going to spoil two things.
Yes. First
Spoiler, the Red Brigade comes back pretty soon.
Oh, nice. Like with the other characters in the main timeline.
Uh-huh.
Nice. Okay, cool. Looking forward to that.
Okay, and second spoiler, Valiant goes downhill generally. So, yeah.
Oh, that's not a spoiler. I knew about that long time.
It totally just keeps on going, and it's like watching the train crash. It has some fun moments. I don't know. But
I'm curious. Like I said, I really want to get to that point, so like and see like if I notice it.
I kind of almost think it was inevitable, a bit like in a Baba Yaga prophecy.
Oh, so you mean even if there wasn't the DMG takeover, it might still have to become like this?
I mean, it's happened how many times even before the current incarnation of Valiant we're talking about? Like 2 times, 3 times?
Oh, you mean like this always has to happen with Valiant, that it kind of like starts off super awesome, then weird business decisions happen, and suddenly it gets rebooted or it gets canceled.
Yeah, or all of them. It's like some kind of eternal struggle, maybe. Some kind of, some kind of immortal enemy is out there. And called the bottom line. Yeah. But you just keep on coming back. Coming back for more.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like I said, I'm very curious. But do you have an actual title? Like, do you know like which, like not which issue, but like which series that you would say was like the start of the bad? Yes, so I can kind of have a lookout for it.
Harbinger Wars 2.
Oh, okay. I remember when it started because I was so curious that I actually I hadn't even read the first 4 issues. But I did read the Harbinger Renegades number 5 because I read that people were really upset about it. Because that was like the start, apparently like the prelude to Harbinger Wars 2.
No, I think that's something else, but I could be wrong. Or maybe it led into it, yeah.
Yeah, because it's, I mean, you've read Harbinger Renegades, right? Or
actually, no, not really.
Oh, okay. Well, then I don't want to spoil it in that sense, but I guess you read Harbinger Wars too, so...
I know what happens in Renegades. Because the thing is, I only got into this because of the RPG. And if you read the RPG, the game, it actually summarizes all of the plot lines, like everything.
Ah.
And that's how come I know about everything. And it's actually a cool way to read it. It's actually really cool writing in there. And they have these really nice character, briefs where you can see everything about a character on one page.
Yeah, but it's kind of good, though. I mean, that gives a good impression that they can kind of sell you on their characters and world with, the short version.
Totally.
Like, they don't have to have you sit through, read through a whole volume to get all the nuance. It's like, nope, I like these characters just from reading the summary.
Yeah, totally. The origin of the pioneer. Soviet troops encounter the lone survivor of a lost tribe on a remote island halfway between Japan and Russia, a badass young lady with an oversized warhammer. She tells the sergeant the legend of how her tribe's sacred weapon, which can only be wielded by the chosen one, helped her survive the Japanese attack that wiped out her people. The good old Sarge offers her a chance to avenge herself on Japan. Serve the motherland. Japan falls to the Soviets the week after. The end. So, the pioneer, even shorter story. Apparently, she's just super strong and super awesome.
Yeah, no, she was, I've got to say, this was the weakest of the origins. Because, I don't know, just design-wise, not super interesting. Power-wise, not interesting. Like, she's just the least interesting of the four.
I would disagree. I really like her.
All right.
I think it's just a nice character concept. Totally down to earth, nothing fancy. She's female Thor, I guess. Actually, that's a thing now, so why not? She's Thor. Yeah. There's a weird old statue like the ones from whose origin story is that? Roku's, yeah. So there's some weird connection there. I don't know, what's not to like?
I don't know, just I don't mind in terms of like being this tribe or something like that, or but I don't know, just nothing's making me kind of like ooh. Like the other three, I was always like ooh.
Yeah, there's no secrets there at all, I guess, except for where did her mystical weapons come from.
Exactly, which again, it's cool. It's always cool when you have something about like these precursors who left things behind.
Oh yeah.
But here it's just kind of like, yeah, it's, as you said, she's just strong and I guess either immortal or at least long living.
She's super unbelievably strong because she gets stabbed by a ninjak through the chest and she's like, I'm fine.
That's true, yeah. And as you were kind of mentioning too, she is kind of like, so with the hood up, she does kind of get this like Eternal Warrior knockoff look.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a shame Gilad didn't make any appearance.
Yeah, again, I'd just be curious because you'd think someone like that then who could, like would he have been immune or something due to like the way his body works or?
I'm guessing no. He's just out there somewhere. Maybe he's working for the bad guys. Almost certainly, they have the Geomancer tied up or something.
Yeah, I mean it's it's just these things. Like I said, it's not important because it's all it's all crossed out anyways now. But I'm always curious about this kind of world, just in terms of, but what about this and what about that? And like, I want to explore it more.
It doesn't make a tiny bit of sense. It doesn't make any sense at all, to be really honest. Like, which parts did they revert? Can I say that?
Yeah.
Which parts were just in people's heads? Hey, who cares? Yeah, it totally does. It makes no sense, but it's awesome. Exactly. That's my nutshell of the whole thing.
But yeah, no, I mean, this was an exciting event. It was interesting reading it like this time. So rather than reading the main story first and then the tie-ins.
Yeah, this was a good suggestion. Thank you to Reddit person. Thanks for that. You're a great person. Thanks for listening.
So yeah, no, I mean, it was fine. I mean, it'll be interesting to see with a future event that maybe has like more stuff, like the 4001 AD would have been complicated since it had like 3 different, stories, so to speak.
Oh boy.
it would have added 4180 and then the Rye issues and then the tie-ins.
Well, Humphrey, I don't want to tie your hands by mentioning this on air, but Secret Weapons, that's a cool event.
Is it? Is it not just one volume?
Oh, yeah, maybe it's just one volume. But it's got a bunch of number zeros. That's pretty cool, too.
Oh, it always gets complicated then, because then it's like, wait, so is this a part of the book, or?
Yeah, I don't know which order we would read it in, but it makes sense to just have the number zeros after.
I suppose. But it's just, I don't know, I've always been I know that the Valiant was actually the first to start with that.
No way, really?
Yeah, apparently.
Okay.
That's the idea of because for some reason with a lot of American comic books, you don't want to start with the origin for the first issue for some reason.
Just get straight into the action. Yeah,
which I guess makes sense in one way, but it's kind of like, I kind of want to know this character. Like when I read Exo-Man of War, the master volume that had like the first 8 issues or something.
Nice.
It starts with issue 0, which shows the whole, setup. Here we have Auric, as a Visigoth, and he gets kidnapped by aliens.
Yeah, well, you need that, to be fair.
Yeah, no, but the thing is, the actual issue 1 starts with him on the alien ship and escaping. And you only kind of like get certain clues about who he is and like what's going on. and I tried I remember that, and then like months afterwards I tried reading it again, but made sure to skip issue 0 and read issue 1. And even though I could remember issue 0 and stuff, but reading it like that fresh, it was like, this is not a good start. I mean, it works as an issue 2, like reading it afterwards, but
okay.
This was the first thing you found when you were hearing about the Valiant in the 90s, and oh yeah, cool, check this out, the issue 1 of Exo-Man of War. It's like, what the fuck is going on? I don't know what's going on here.
I mean, they didn't start with a blank slate. I mean, they basically reached out to all the existing Valiant fans. There you go.
I suppose.
Oh, you mean, wait, from the 90s?
Yeah, the 90s version. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. It was
they did really well for the reboot, I think.
Yeah. In the 90s, things didn't have to make sense, dude. It was all about who has a cool costume, maybe pouches on it.
Ah, classic.
Yeah, the 90s were great, I think. How did I miss out on all that?
Yeah, no, it's one of those things when I was too young, and I don't think they were available, at least not easily for me as a kid.
Oh yeah, no way.
So like I couldn't even get a hold of like the DC Marvel stuff, so definitely not going to get Valiant.
Yeah, I was wasting my time reading some some flash in the pan stuff like Neil Gaiman's Sandman and Love and Rockets. Where's that now?
Oh, that's good stuff though.
I used to love that stuff. I don't know why. I was a typical British teen, I guess. There you go.
All right. I think, that's kind of like the general... we both like this, both these volumes, like this event too. Like, I think this was a really fun event.
It was awesome. A little bit of humor, a lot of kind of action stuff, Russian folklore.
Exactly. That was great.
2 thumbs up.
So, same here. So, if you'd mind reading us out.
This was the 98th episode of Hardcast, detailing the second half of Divinity 3. For previous episodes, check out the links in the show notes and join us next time for...
Britannia.
Oh yeah.